goal is to give people hope that there is a path to a fully sustainable global economy, that we are on that path, that we are accelerating that path, and that so long as we don't get complacent about it, it will happen.
This was really the beginning of the end of the Tesla bubble. I actually think the company could go bust.
Tesla's Model Y is the world's best-selling car, beating out Toyota's RAV4 and its Corolla models.
Regarding FSD version 12, it's profound. The rate of improvement is rapid. It might be the biggest asset value appreciation in history when you can do unsupervised full self-driving.
I mean, that just sounds like a story stock. Autonomous taxis. I mean, can you really balance your checkbook with, sort of pie in the sky? Yeah.
If you ask the wrong question, the right answer is impossible.
My prediction is that a majority of Tesla's long-term value will be Optimus. And that prediction I'm very confident of. It's very rare a product comes along that is seemingly impossible, that experts said would never be made. And this is one of those times. Finally, the future will look like the future. People say, like, why'd you make it bulletproof? I'm like, why not?
Energy storage deployments, the Megapack in particular, reached an all-time high in Q1, leading to record profitability for the energy business.
This is the machine that builds the machine, and the factory is the product. And this building is the most advanced car factory that Earth has ever seen.
If you value Tesla as an auto company, it's just the wrong framework. If somebody doesn't believe Tesla's going to solve autonomy, I think they should not be an investor in the company. But we will, and we are.
And I think it's incredible. I think we're not just opening a new chapter for Tesla, we're starting a new book. We're obviously making great progress in solving the sustainable energy problem, with electric vehicles, with stationary storage, with solar. And I think in terms of the value of the company, autonomy is just such a mind-blowing thing that, like I said, you guys understand, but I think most of the world does not yet understand. So, and if you just plot the points on the curve of how well autonomy is progressing and just believe the curve, it's headed towards unsupervised full self-driving very quickly at an exponential pace. So, and it's very clear that that will actually go to the point where it is actually far safer than a person driving the car. And I have some insight into the next releases, because we've got basically for every release that's on the road, we kind of see what the next generation release is and a little bit about the release after that. So we have some insight into where it's going, and it's really amazing. No question whatsoever that will far exceed human safety. Sometimes people wonder, well, how do you go from this big fleet to actually monetizing the fleet in an autonomous situation? And it's actually a combination of it's like Airbnb and Uber to some degree. So there'll be some cars that Tesla owns itself, and it's kind of like an Uber fashion. But then for the fleet that is owned by our customers, it will be like an Airbnb thing. You can add or subtract your car to the fleet whenever you want. So you can say, I'm going away for a week. Just one tap on your Tesla app, your car gets added to the fleet, and it just makes money for you while you're gone. And I'm highly confident that it will far exceed the value, the revenue made by the owner of the car will far exceed the actual monthly payment. And then Tesla will obviously take a rev share on that, but most of the money will go to the owner of the car. And this is actually going to work. This is what will happen. The most accurate that I'm aware of is Cathie Wood's ARK Invest. And if I recall correctly, they predicted somewhere over a $5 trillion valuation for Tesla just based on vehicle autonomy, not counting Optimus. I agree with that. It actually gets way crazier when you think about the Optimus robot, which is really a humanoid robot that is intended to, be able to do anything you want it to do, to be your companion. It can be at your house. It can sort of babysit your kids. It could teach them, be a teacher. It can do factory stuff. I think everyone in the world is going to want one. And then there'll be obviously robots in industry making stuff. And so, I think the ratio of humanoid robots to humans will probably be at least 2 to 1, something like that. 1 to 1 for sure, so, which means somewhere on the order of 10 billion humanoid robots, maybe 20 or 30. I think the build rate will be probably something ultimately like 1 billion a year, humanoid robots, actually. And if Tesla just has a 10% share of that, and it might be a lot more than 10%, and there's, we make 100 million Optimus units a year, I think we could make one for a cost of maybe at really high scale of about $10,000. It's smaller. It'll be less expensive than a car. So, and then I think if you sell for $20,000 or something, this is at large scale volume. Tesla would basically make about $1 trillion of profit a year from that. If the price earnings multiple is, say, I don't know, 20 or 25, something like that, that would mean a $20 trillion market cap from Optimus alone, and probably 5 to 10 from autonomous vehicles. So, like, I think it's actually conceivable, it's within the realm of possibility for Tesla to achieve a valuation 10 times that of the most valuable company today. So when I say this is like we're starting a new book, I mean, it's going to be the best book. I suspect that we'll go from passenger cars having about 10 hours of usage per week, about an hour and a half per day, to probably a third of the hours in the week, maybe 50, 55 hours, which means the same car will be used 5 times more often. So you need a certain amount of resources to make the car, but it'll have 5 times the usage. And we've got the Tesla Semi. We're in low volume production of the Tesla Semi, and just last week I approved the plans for volume production of the Tesla Semi. It's something I think it'll actually move the needle financially. It's not like it's not a small thing. The thing about for commercial vehicles, the companies that make the buying decisions, they just look at it and say, like, what are the numbers? Like, is this cost less to transport or cost more to transport than say a diesel truck? And the thing is that the economics are much better than a diesel truck. It's kind of basically a no-brainer. If you're a transport company, you don't use the Tesla electric Semi, you're just losing money. Why would you do that? Do not. And Tesla's also the leader in real-world AI. So there's really, this is a big deal. Tesla is ahead of Google, Meta, of anyone on real-world software, actually taking in video and making decisions based on video. No one is even close. And it's getting better, I say, with each passing month, if not each passing week. And it's also worth noting that Tesla is actually pretty good at chip design. So it says we started from scratch in AI software and have the best real-world AI software and the best AI inference chip in the world from nothing. So this is a big deal. And the capability of the chips in the car is dramatic. Like, I mean, right now, all the cars are actually training. We have hardware 4 run hardware 3 in emulation mode. So we'll continue to make significant progress on hardware 3, but later this year we'll actually bifurcate, continue working on hardware 3. But everything you're seeing thus far is just hardware 3, and we still have a long way to go before we reach the limits of hardware 3. So hardware 3, I think, will do amazing things, but hardware 4, I think, will probably do about 5 times better. Then hardware 5, which comes out in about 18 months or so, is 10 times more capable than hardware 4. And then, of course, that will go into Optimus as well. So the same chip will go into, hardware 4 will go into is an Optimus. Hardware 5, AI 5, which we're calling switching from hardware 5 to AI 5, will be in Optimus and in all cars in about 18 months. And it's really just a staggering amount of compute. And it's very power efficient compute. Something that I think is potentially interesting down the road is at some point the Tesla fleet, I think, will probably be over 100 million vehicles. And if each vehicle has a kilowatt of efficient inference compute, I think there's sort of an Amazon Web Services AWS type opportunity, because if you've got 100 million vehicles with a kilowatt of efficient inference compute, you've got 100 gigawatts of compute. Like 100 gigawatts of compute is a lot, and it's distributed all over the world. So when the car is not in autonomous mode, which I think probably is, or doing robotaxi work maybe 50, 60 hours a week, but about 100 hours a week. So there's 100 hours of 100 gigawatts of inference compute. When people looked at Amazon, which started out, obviously, as an online bookseller, and it's has grown to be like this incredible place where you can buy anything, and then Amazon Web Services, like, well, they got all these computers that only really see peak usage sometimes, but what are they going to do when it's not peak usage? And sometimes the Amazon servers are down like 10%. So that's when they said, well, let's do Amazon Web Services. and then Amazon Web Services became more valuable than the entire rest of Amazon. We also are no longer compute constrained for training. I check in with the team. It's like, is there anything we could do to improve the pace of progress with respect to training and inference? And currently that is not the limiting factor. In fact, the limiting factor right now is that the amount of miles between interventions is so long that it takes quite a while to figure out which version is better than the other version, because none of them are requiring any interventions. So it's like, you know, if you start getting to like thousands of miles between interventions, or you're like 10,000 miles to get an intervention. So this is where actually having a giant fleet is extremely important, because we can deploy a new FSD model and run it in shadow mode and see how well it performs, compare how the human drives the car versus the new self-driving build, and then analyze that delta in shadow mode, like the shadow knows, or doesn't know, as the case may be, and then be able to assess by getting billions of miles very quickly with the giant fleet. Like that, basically, that data engine is incredibly helpful. Like, actually, it's not possible to solve the self-driving problem without having millions of vehicles on the road. So that's actually is like figuring out clever ways to test how good the next FSD build is actually the limiting factor right now. And then, of course, like I said, we are building another training data center right here, which will be dedicated to hardware 4 training. So we'll bifurcate hardware 3 and hardware 4 training later this year. We'll keep improving hardware 3, but we're going to uncork the full capability of hardware 4 as well. I think most people here have tried out version 12. We did say like unsupervised full self-driving would be version 12. So we are actually just keeping the version arbitrarily at 12, and then like calling it 12.4, 12.3, 12.4, 12.5. But it's actually really like version 13, version 14. But anyway, this is an arbitrary designation. So 12.4 is actually like a whole different version than 12.3, and 12.5 is a whole different version than 12.4. So you'll see really giant improvements, I think sometimes factor of 10 improvements in between successive versions. We've made a massive amount of progress with Optimus in a short period of time, from someone pretending to be a robot dancing in a suit, to a pretty hodgepodgey robot, to a robot that is actually doing useful tasks in the factory today. So we have 2 Optimus robots in our Fremont factory that are doing basically this task, which is taking cells off the end of the line and placing them in a shipping container. So and I think we've got kind of like one major hardware revision, which should be done by end of this year or early next. And then we'll move into a limited production next year of Optimus. Limited production for use in our factories, where we'll test out the product. And my prediction is next year we'll have over 1,000, maybe a few thousand Optimus robots working at Tesla. And things are going to scale up very rapidly from there. So you'll just literally be able to talk to it and say, please do this task, or I'm going to show you something, now do the thing that I'm showing you. And get to the point where it can watch a video of something like a person and then learn just by looking at that video and do that task. And I'm confident of the prediction that there will be more, like the ratio of humanoid robots to humans will be greater than 1 to 1. So that there'll be more than 10 billion humanoid robots in the world, probably 20 or more. And Tesla is going to be by far the leader in that. You're seeing a lot of robot startups, but I think it's actually very challenging to do Optimus as a robot startup, because what we found, to make Optimus work, we've had to design from first principles, from scratch, every part of the robot. So the motor, the gearbox, the sensors, the power electronics, the communication system, everything had to be done from scratch. We found that there's basically nothing. There's no supply chain. We have the resources to do that. It applies quite well. And then you also have to have the brain. You need a power-efficient inference computer, which we've got for the car, and we'll be using in Optimus. You need AI. You need to be the best in real-world AI, and Tesla's the best in real-world AI. So you need all of these. You need a very strong hand of cards in order to make a compelling robot. And then you also need to be very good at scale manufacturing. So in order to have the robot not cost like hundreds of thousands of dollars, in order to make it cost like $10,000 or $20,000, you actually need to design for manufacturing and be very good at manufacturing. In my experience, prototypes are easy compared to volume manufacturing. Prototypes are easy, production is hard, relatively speaking. So Tesla has the production capability, it has the engineering capability, and it has the AI hardware and software capability. And even the most optimistic estimates that I've seen for Optimus, I think undercount the magnitude of what this robot will be able to do. I agree with the ARK Invest analysis that autonomous transport is sort of a $5 to $7 trillion market cap situation. Optimus, I think, is a $25 trillion market cap situation. Now, I don't want to trivialize what's necessary to get there. I mean, it's an immense amount of work that is required to get there, like super difficult. But we are moving very fast down that road, and we're going to make it happen.